system exists, then it will figure out. If it doesn't go beyond its density or tipping point, it will move against the previous loop, which is known as negative feedback. So I'm using this framework by asking my 4 research questions in different phases, and also by comparing and contrasting the concepts that are used in boundary assessment framework. For example, in this phase, I'm asking the question that what are the factors that are limiting the exploitation of capital assets? Is asked when we address them. So asking this question, we can claim both the exploitation phase and also the exposure of any system to climatic spaces. Again, in this phase, I'm asking the question how the accumulated capitals of resources are being stabilized and how they are showing some degree of sensitivity to this kind of spaces. And this is the question, these are used to address the concept of sensitivity in the framework. The third question is release or phase. I'm addressing the question how the release of resources are organized, for example, institutionalized. And this is the question for analytical capacity, and this is the question we usually ask for understanding organizations. We will ask the question that how the system reorganizes itself and how the opportunities for taking adaptive changes, which is the question of adaptive change, for example. So this is how I'm merging all these 3 concepts together on the 3 very broad frameworks. But the problem is that when we study this, use this framework, we need long-term historical data. And unfortunately, this type of data are not available for some specific countries like Bangladesh, where the data sources are not really available. So to address this problem, I have modified this framework in a new way. In this framework. If we consider these individual adaptive loops, how each of these they will ultimately provide a pressure on the community for a community that destabilize households will destabilize the community as a whole. This interaction is known as interaction. And if we consider these adaptive loop as the environment and the assembly of community loops are observing that they are affected by different climatic spaces, then these adaptive loops will ultimately stabilize these states adaptive. And that is how the interaction are observed. And this kind of cross-color interaction is considered as member. So this is the framework how I'm taking into account the cross-color interaction of different levels. So now another question is that how we will take the concept of time-based interaction. For example, if stars selecting this loop is called D loop, and this is the DR phase, and this exploited resources at this level will be stabilized at this level. D, and this will be released in this phase, that is D omega phase, and which will be reorganized in this phase, which is known as D alpha phase. Similarly, when DR is become mature in this phase, another new loop starts, which is this. So ultimately, we see that if we consider only this particular adaptive loop, we can say that we will understand adaptive capacity or adaptive or exposure sensitivity of any system based on the previous present data going back to the technology-based information. So the research training and participant for my research at the Northeastern communities mentioned already, and this is one of the most blind areas initially because this area receives highest rainfall in the country, and it also receives significant amount of upstream river flow every year, and it's also a highly flash flood prone area of Bangladesh. And I'm conducting my field work in Patanki and Tangur Town, which are the two most important development systems in this area. And also, these two areas are designated as ecologically critical areas of Bangladesh, according to the State Government of Bangladesh. And from my own previous research, I have found that these communities are highly dependent on natural resources, and they are characterized by remoteness, poverty, homelessness, and marginalization. And for my whole research process, I'm adopting two research approaches. One is mixed method, and another one is multiple case study. I'm using multiple case study research approach because I'm doing my research in a contextualized fashion. That means I'm observing the environment and resilience in a very science-specific condition. For example, Sylhet. And also, this kind of case study research gives us intensive observation based on which we can generate conceptualized policy making, and it can also contribute in knowledge generation and knowledge creation. Also, the mixed method research approach, which combines both qualitative and quantitative research and used together. This kind of method gives us the methodological overlap, which is necessary for methodological triangulation and validity of research. And for my first research question, where I will identify the vulnerability and assessment, vulnerability and resilient assessment criteria, I will use participatory research networks. Here, the data will be collected from the community members, but before that, I will develop a candidate set of criteria. And this candidate set of criteria will remember gender representatives of government officials and non-government officials, and they will ultimately assess the ranking of individual criteria, so that we can identify which criteria are more important than others. And we will analyze this data by an analytical hierarchy process, as we know that analytical hierarchy process gives us the rank-based identification of data. Question, I will use both secondary and primary data, and this data will be used for understanding both exposure and sensitivity to different climatic stresses. Here, local climatic, agricultural, fisheries, livestock, forestry data will be collected from the geological organization and also from Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics. I will use 60 years of climatic data and agricultural production data for my analysis. And also primary data will be collected from different households. Approximately 360 households will be surveyed during my field study. And this data will be analyzed using different statistical techniques like time series analysis for climatic data to see to observe the extreme levels of different climatic stresses. And also, regression models will be developed for understanding the interaction between the internal and external variables. And also, I will use general inductive approach for structural development or interactive development of different quantitative data, so that we can triangulate the whole research process. And for my third research question, I will where I will study the capacity of the communities use focus group and informal interviews. These two are the quantitative techniques of data collection. And here I will conduct 2 to 3 focus groups per village, and approximately 30 informal interviews will be taken place. All these informals and focus groups will be purposely selected, and this qualitative data will be analyzed using constant comparison techniques. Data coding and institutional analysis will also be conducted for structural, different conceptual development or conceptual assessment of this whole data. And for my final research question, I will use meta synthesis technique. Here, I will use adaptive changes and develop institutional support for community level development or community level adaptation. Here, I will use peer-reviewed published papers for meta synthesis, as we know that meta synthesis is a technique which summarizes a huge amount of a large amount of data and condense them in a very short way. And ultimately, this data will generate generalized understanding of different studies. And this data will be analyzed based on coding. Institutional analysis will also be taken place, as we are seeing how institutions are supporting different subordinate levels through institutional interactions. And the expected outcome of my research is that a generalized framework will be developed that will be helpful to understand, contextualize vulnerability-based assessment or resilience-based assessment of different study areas across the world. And also, this data will generate a systematic description of livelihoods and vulnerability of notice and floodplain, which will be helpful for policymakers and different other organizations to understand the likely vulnerability and resilience of this particular area so that new policy revisions can be taken place. So this is the reference I have used in my presentations, and I would like to acknowledge Asian Center for Development and Foundation Network for Development and Environmental Economics for providing me with funding and the logistic supports to conduct my research. And also I'd like to convey my deepest gratitude to Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC for their contribution in developing my framework, and also also for my logistic support, especially in Canada. I'd also like to acknowledge Prince Albert II Women Foundation for providing funding for my studies in McGill University. I'm also grateful to McGill University, the Canada Metropolitan University for providing me some logistic support, and also Sylhet University of Science and Technology for the contribution. And that's all from my presentation. Thank you very much. I think a short question period, because after that we'll have discussions. So I'd like to ask for short questions if you have any. Otherwise, the questions are. So thank you very much for your participation and attendance here. I'd like to express gratitude to the whole sir and also
Thank you, Mr. Rahman. Now we'll go for a short break for light. Will be back right back for the discussion section. Thank you. Okay. Now the discussion session. In this session, Dr. Muntaha Rakib, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Sharjah University of Science and Technology, and Dr. Mr. Belaluddin, Associate Professor, Department of Forestry and Environmental Science, Sharjah University of Science and Technology, will discuss on Mr. Rahman's presentation. I would like to invite Dr. Muntaha Rakib to discuss on the presentation. Okay. Now, Dr. Belaluddin Ahmed, sir.
Thanks, Toby, for this presentation. Very interesting research work, and Toby also discussed more research topics for me. So I have to have clarification to Toby Rahman. So I have seen you already presented. So there is a vulnerability to livelihood and resilience to the climate stress for the local communities. So what we have seen actually, the wetland is a big, we can say, big store of resources for the communities, and for all the ecosystems mainly, fisheries and forestry, wetland biodiversity. But I did find any. You have presented that two things. One is ecosystem, and second thing is social systems. And these two systems combinedly affect the community land use. So I have found many things about social systems. They have presented many data that you will collect, but I did not find significantly things for the ecosystems characteristics. Uh, what ecosystem characteristics for ecological characteristics you will study for a PhD. So because ecosystem will be affected for the climate stresses, and there are some you have mentioned some because of productivity, fisheries, but there are as a forestry graduate. My suggestion is you have to collect some how other resources, forest resources, and other ecosystem resources will be affected by the climate stresses. Uh, so this is one thing. You give some ecosystem resources to combine these two resources. And second thing is that I have seen you have presented 4 questions, nice questions. But my question is that how you can combine all the things together, and finally how you can conclude the things. And so I didn't find any specific methodology, though I'm not economist, but how you will combine these 4 questions together, and finally how you can conclude on this study, what things you would like to conclude. First, second thing, and third thing is that this is about the methodology. Third thing is that what types of specific policy output you are expecting from this study. So these 3 observations from me actually. Other things I think other discussion will discuss. So these are the 3 main observations from me on the.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful discussion. Now I would like to invite Dr. Mutahar.
Thank you very much for your nice and clear presentation. And I have some general and some specific comments and suggestions. So, with your title actually, and there are 3 broad topics in your title. I thought one is vulnerability, one is resilience, and one is climate stress. So, to my understanding, when you will analyze on vulnerability on households, to measure the vulnerability, it's not enough to see whether the household is affected with that specific types of shocks or not. Rather than it is more insightful to see the frequency of the stress they are experienced. So this may be one point you can take care of. For example, whether they are affected by floods, as you were dealing with flood only. So for the last 5 years and 10 years, and how many times they are affected. This might be important. From your research questions, I can find that with vulnerability, your another interest is asset, that is capital, according to the household liability framework. We know that there are 5 types of capital and these things. So I have suggested to see, it might be interesting to decompose the households into one maybe vulnerable households with low level of assets, and one maybe vulnerable households with relatively higher level of assets. And then you see the criteria of to which households are affected. Because to my understanding, vulnerability and with low level, the households are less resilient because they can't they can't survive with what there may be in case of policy formulation rather than exposed measures, there may be some other policy formulations, for example, for investing in human capital or social capital, which is also interesting. Another keyword of your title is resilience. So in your presentation, I find that you will see the adaptive capacity, which is a part of resilience actually, because we know resilience is basically composed of two main things. One is short-term capacities, and another is long-term capacities. Adaptive capacities is basically long-term capacities, but vulnerability is more related to short-term capacities. So it might be also interesting to see which term capacities, the coping strategies of that specific household. Also, from your research question, I see that you will identify the community level adaptive capacity, but I think it might be also interesting to see the household level coping and adaptive capacity. So, which are the strategies they take in short run and which are the strategies they take in long run, and you can also relate to those specific types of capacities with your asset module. That means whether they have the human capital or more social capital or not, because we know that a vulnerable community might be also resilient because they might have good institutional support, they might have good networks and or informal information sources. So it might be also interesting to see to dig into more deep on the other types of data rather than the physical. I'm not sure you are interested on resilience index or not. I think rather than only measuring resilience in capacity side or in capacity dimensions, that means on adaptive capacity or sensitivity, it might be also interesting to see the physical dimensions of resilience. So you might also include whether the household have access on safety nets or whether they have access in food and other basic needs or climatic stress. Point maybe how shall you define the climatic stress? Because more or less a regular event in our country. So we can't say it as stress because it is also helpful for our culture. So how can you define the stress? So I see that you will collect the meteorological data, but my suggestion would be you can also collect some household and community level to check the severity of the shock. For example, you can ask the pets or maybe the household pets that the incidents they are suffered with that specific types of shock, how many died or how much assets were passed on. Specific, if I don't misunderstand, there is slide 4 is your own framework. Slide 4. That means you have the shocks. The community livelihoods. So you can plug in as you were dealing with adaptive capacity, you can plug in the response of the communities into your conceptual framework, which you are also, which is a major part of the business cycles. From slide 14, I have a specific question. You will ask some gender representatives from the community, but I am not sure whether you will ask both from, as you are talking about gender, so whether you will ask both from male representative and female representative simultaneously or not. And if, then I would suggest you to make the proportion same, so that data you will collect will not be biased. Also, from slide 15, I think I told it before that likelihood, exposure, and sensitivity in not only community level, but also in household level interesting. And you can also compare actually the household and community reports to check the validity of the data. Or I have another specific concern, that is from question number 3 or 4, that you will you will establish some regression framework or some regression framework, as you say. So I am concerned about the indigeneity issue here. So there might be because with assets or with whatever type of asset like social capital or physical capital, when you analyze the adaptive capacity or good participation, there may be indigeneity. So you have to think about it before you go to collect data, because you have to collect some instrument variables. So it might be good to think about it before you frame your data collection. Also, from slide 18, that is the general outcomes. I have you said that some general acceptable framework you will establish, but I am wondering whether it would be possible to establish some generally acceptable, because the data you are collecting or the field you have selected is not country representative. So the analysis you will do will represent a specific community, and also you are dealing with only a specific types of shock. That is not all types of shocks or all kinds of agricultural zones, for example. So I think you can also think about it, how to represent it, or how to generalize your findings for more policy implication. Because for policy implication, you have to, or maybe it is more, it is more helpful to get more country representative or more general differences. I think these are some comments I had, and good luck for your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Mukhanan, for your excellent and very much useful comments on my proposal, that I'm trying to visit all these ideas in my research before I go to the field. So I'd like to address a few things that I wanted to talk about that you have already flagged. First of all, in slide 4, the diagram I have shown in slide 4, this is actually not my framework. This is the idea I'm using in my analysis. But the main framework I'm developing is presented in this framework. That's how I'm going to study individual household and community as a whole. Because already, as Mukhanan would say, that's the cross-scale interaction should be understood at household level and also at community level, so that we can cross-check both these together. And this is what I'm going to do, and thanks a lot for identifying or suggesting comments on that. And the framework that I'm developing, I'm actually developing criteria for this context specifically. But my framework that will be useful for some other parts also if we use a contextualized study. But on that case, the criteria will be changed. That is based on the study area. The criteria, candidates set of criteria will be developed, and that will be replicated in some other field areas. But the framework that will be helpful for all the studies. But the criteria that will be used for in contextual study, that will be changed. That's the idea actually I will explain in my presentation. I'm sorry for that, but this is the theme of my framework. And overall, thank you very much for both of your comments. And I think these are really useful for the completion of my research.
you. And wanted to get some feedback. Maybe this might help me to think through. If I look at your objective, you have three objectives, four objectives, specific questions that you wanted to answer. You have to be maybe in your field you have specific climate stress you are talking about. Another important point. Why do you define a climatic event as a stress? So there's a difference between stress. Event is happening, but it's not a stress. So how to define it? That is a very important issue. So maybe you can have give us some idea about how you have defined that. I understand that it probably. The second question that you have in your methodology, if I remember, you have said that you will be collecting some long-term climate data. That is a question that I have in mind. What do you mean by long-term climate data? Because long-term climate data could be very important, but it may not from Hakalu who are not located there. So I'm trying to understand the usefulness of that based on this, because there is a lot of variation of this. Number one. Number two, the stress in particular is not derived out of environmental or weather event in Bangladesh. It is actually derived out of an environment, probably in Chernobyl. So when you match these two different issues together, so that is another issue that I can see. The problem, the advantage of a data collection, you can easily collect the data, but when you analyze it, the data will tell you something and you will be puzzled. To solve those puzzles, you need to think beforehand. And that's what we are asking this question, that how you are considering the changes in the rainfall pattern in Assam and that of Meghalaya, not Assam. So also true in Hakalu, it is also coming from the same range. So I'm just asking these questions in your mind because what type of long-term weather data you use? Another point, and that's also important, particularly the concept of vulnerability. You had this vulnerability as a function of stress. That's one of the SIES document that IPCC produced. From there, and this is where three elements. One is stress. So one is what you call adaptive. Sensitivity. So I'm trying to understand, since you are doing this and collecting field level data, what is stress? How did you define sensitivity? And how you say, what the reason I'm saying, if you go to Hakalu, the climate sensitivity and stress problem is constant every household. So the difficulty is every household you are collecting 360 households. They are all facing same climate event. They are all facing same sensitivity, whatever way you define it. So the only difference remains is nothing but adaptive capacity, which is coming from your third question, which is this. So it might be the economic conditions of the locality, which is the socio-economic characteristics, might actually define eventually the whole vulnerability, which is a difficult one because then you are going to conclude in terms of stress, no sensitivity matters. Only matters is adaptive. And that could be a dangerous conclusion from the literature point of view when I see. So in order to protect your interest, because the moment you say there is no, and that's probably because of your data selection, because these two sides, the moment you get cross-section data of any side, you lose the other variation. So this is where I think you need to, if you have some idea, and if you let us know, maybe it will help you. But I'm just raising this issue in your mind because to me, you might eventually lose your own function out of it. The last point that I thought that might be also interesting, which is again as I was listening to you, that the last question, which is institution, the question is, you would see probably on a historical meta level, you have used the meta-analysis, meta-synthesis for this. When you do this meta-synthesis, you are totally dependent on private or research studies done previously, right? Probably in this kind of Hakaluki or Tangur, the number of studies will be very limited, number one. So you may not see enough study to do a good meta-synthesis out of it. That's one problem I can see. The other problem that I see is that how much institutional changes have we seen in these places, so that we know which one is better, which one is worse. And that might be significantly difficult. To me, it's a very difficult one. It's not that this is, to me, not getting anything out of the fourth question would be one of the toughest ones. Because there may not be major changes in institutions. All Bangladesh has changes, but our area has not changed much compared to the institutional framework. So, given all this, and there are disturbances. For example, disturbance in the sense that if you go to Tanguar, for the last 10 years, it was without any needs of, there is no needs. So this completely new institution has come, and it was in process of transition. If you go to Hakaluki, it was because it was critical area. You see, Department of Environment has been working on this in different setting of institutions. And I don't believe there's enough study on those institutional changes and how these institutions affected the vulnerability or the ability of the people to deal with climate stress. So these are questions that I have in mind, and if you have any specific issues to answer, maybe it will help others to think through. Just an education for all of us. Do not answer now, maybe you can collect this. Anybody else?
Well, with regard to the scope of the study, I'd like to make a few comments. I don't know whether you have already covered that, but I think that with more emphasis on what are the possible remedial measures, given the vulnerability of the areas. What are the possible, given the information, knowledge, and the data, what can we suggest or as a remedial measure to minimize the effect of this is number one. Number two is how we can develop resilience. Because I think, however much we are able to improve the situation, minimize the vulnerability of the area, still there is a need for resilience. So we can have to develop, how can we develop the resilience so that they can withstand as much as possible the ill effects of the because you say that you will be able to provide new knowledge and insight that can better support local and national policy. So you can theoretically framework of the possible remedial measures for problem.
I think I'm fair enough having the voice. Thank you for the flawless presentation. I'm Professor Dr. Manzoor from Sharjah University. Just sharing to know about the fourth one, as Professor Anamal rightly said, about this is more about the governance of the institutional capacity. And there are so many discontinuation with the project interventions made by several institutions, national, international, and the government. So you never know at what point the institution has got his foot in the locality. So you have to have a fair idea about the sort of connectivity, how long they are practicing that governance system of legitimizing the community to be a part of the management and governance system. You have to look into that. And one more issue, at some point you have mentioned that you'll collect data from 360 households. My query is whether they will be solely the resource users or density of use. There might be the category like more dependent, moderately dependent, less dependent. Because when you go for sort of studying the vulnerability, there is a connectivity. The more your dependency on a certain resource or a certain location, the more you are the vulnerable. So you have to have a more careful consideration while sort of modifying the panarchy framework, because in a biodiversity richness assessment, it's the same thing. If there is a fragmentation or isolation, the way you measure the biodiversity in a different way. When there's a close connectivity, there is a positive side also, because when I am affected, there is a positive chance that my neighbor will help me getting out of the vulnerability. So don't just think of that, the more the cohesion in a negative way. There might be the positive outcome out of this. Thank you very much.
According to the proposed questions that formal institutions, as Dr. You were saying, it's also from my experience that when I collect the data for my PhD thesis, I also find that rather than the formal institutions, there are more effect for the informal institutions, which are the networks that have all the informal levels, informal source of information, which are very helpful for them in case of cyclone or flood or any other climatic events. So I think you can also, because there are formal institutions, but there are not like systematic activities of that formal institutions. And in some cases, they are a member of the formal institutions, but that is only by as a paperwork only. Because in some cases they also provide some credits, but that is the only activity that they do. So I think you can also focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. We are now at the end of today's program. At last, I would like to request Professor Dr. Sylhet, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Metropolitan University, Sylhet, for his closing address. Please, sir.
Thank you, Kabir. Thank you, Dr. Naman Park, and everybody present here. Well, Sandy has been there for quite long, and perhaps the most innovative kind of initiative taken in Bangladesh. And so for my new schools, more than a dozen of scholars from different institutions have been financed by Saudi. And the lab is one of them. Perhaps we sent him to Sri Lanka, is it? And the two more colleagues from Shahjalan University got the opportunity to be financed by Saudi. Well, I was requested by Dr. Naman Park to house this gentleman in Metropolitan University. He is doing his PhD in the university, and his research area is close to ours. It is Tangor, and Akali. We were rather glad to receive him very cordially, and we decided not to take any money from Sandeep for this. But the Naval Hawk should inform me that he has got the budgetary allocation and we must accept it. But my condition was that Tawfiq at least to give two presentations here. That is enough for us. So
You can use this money for faculty research.
really, really grateful to Sandy and Rohit for giving this seminar today. And the topic that you are going to research is really, really important for Bangladesh. As you said initially, that this is under-researched area. I believe it is very, very true. So far, you perhaps worked for ourselves. Some of my colleagues at Sylhet University, particularly in the Department of Statistics, consider key, and some from social work and anthropology for different perspectives, not in fact economic study. And I see some of the terms that you used here. I sort of remember it was Mr. Arifin of the Department of Forestry. Is there anyone? Arifin? I don't know. Arifin. He worked. Yeah. He's from the Department of Forestry. Let us compute the fact. Well, first of all, livelihood, vulnerability, resilience, climate stresses. So once you go into research, you have to be very clear about that. As Professor Anand rightly mentioned, that you are say data for 70 years for what? Rainfall data for a particular region of Bangladesh is very difficult to get. Then normally collecting potential pension or restricted by state. And the climatic shocks that is seen how it is of runs or different runs. None of the climatic shocks originate here, as you mentioned, perhaps it is in Meghalaya. You know, some 20 years ago, heavy rainfall used to instigate people to move to Tangled or in order to get species. Because it used to take 4 days for water to come. You cannot actually act like that. Rainfall somewhere in future, perhaps we can chlorize, you can see festival in Sunabranch or some other areas. And that is how climate change will impact one can understand this. Once you say the stresses are at a higher level than before, we actually mean that. And one more important thing, when we talk about climate change, we should not forget that it's a slow moving process. It does not take place one on a sudden. Well, been there for long. Even in my childhood, I have seen floods in our areas. We used to use one term, so what is that? Dhalwe or something. There is no crop for a particular area, no crop at all. What is the term? I forgot the sanitary term. Afar. Afar. Then everybody was happy. Yes, then we talked about certain Mars type and we call it Afar. So this is nothing new. So once you go into start, well, so anyway, well, you said your total household that you are And if you make a cycle like this, perhaps the response should be the same kind of thing. You ask them single question and you will get a single answer. And if it is cross-sectional analysis, I don't know how it's going to be. Isn't it? Why is the variation there? The most important thing, perhaps eventually will come to this what institutional arrangement we should make in order to enhance their adoption capability. Innovative. Ultimate target of your studies. And for doing this one, we are going to study the stress intensity. So, here about institutional arrangements are already there in the audience. Are there any at all? Or what level is the working on? So far, and also, family and still don't undecided. In some areas, well, there is another very important factor. Culture enough perhaps knows better than anybody else. Community ownership. In our areas, still a lot of lands are there where we don't do individual ownership. And there is a participation in our areas for some people to grab perhaps by using their political influence or perhaps because of their strong sort of, I don't know what to say, and there are laws there, particularly in Afghanistan areas involved, or even in Saudi. I don't have much idea about this, I have never been to any other. But I know, we talked them, there was a shoe. There was a shoe like grabbing almost all the community land. And what I saw in the television, some people are making comments to the viewers that previously we used to have access to the land for fishing. So I don't know how the community land or national land or whatever it is used. Yeah. If any institution change you want to bring there, I have to express. And I have seen in house. In some places, people are going for top diversity in order to enhance their own conditions. Another one I have seen is aquaculture. They're changing their occupation. Since I don't have any access to community land, I will use the limited amount of land that I have to practice some kind of cage aquaculture, which is very popular nowadays. And most of the fish that we get in the market are from cage aquaculture. And some are going for kind of dark range. So these are factors that can be assisted by the government through institutional arrangement. Perhaps on own initiative, in case fishing, you need to have some kind of technician. And you need to have marketing network with those same institutions. So, yes, before you go into question, you need to remind that you have all the data that you find from the one. So, this was for me, and thank you very much again for using our premise, even though you perhaps you can use the room, but it's better. I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. a good study.
Gerald, this is Barbara. We would like to convey our deepest gratitude for your kind attendance and various additions. We would also like to thank Metigi, Asian Center for Development, for organizing this program. Thank you very much, and the light for all of you. Thanks, all.